Hello, and thank you so much for joining us for the final episode in the amazing adventure that has been the first series of Getting Carried Away, the YouTube programme where Emma and I interview authors about the films, books, and TV programmes that mean the most to them.
Hello, and I'm delighted this evening to welcome tonight Louie Stowell, writer and illustrator of a number of books for children, but she's actually with us today on launch day for, hold it up, Louie, for Loki, A Bad God's Guide to Being Good. So thank you so much for joining us on launch day. Look at those edges. I just want to hold up the proof copy as well because it's beautiful. But it's out in shops now, right?
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
So that's actually inside the finished one as well.
Oh, fab. Oh, good, because it was kind of too good to waste, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. They just put it inside. So
You've got your cake and you're eating it.
I know, right?
Nice. Okay, so thank you for sending us your choices. I'm very excited to get dig in to your choices, mainly because they're all, don't know about you, Anna, as well, but they're all completely new to me. So I have managed to check out most of them, but I'm really fascinated to hear you just wax lyrical about why you love these things so much. Amazing. So let's go straight to it. And I would like you to start telling us about the phenomena that is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because this whole thing completely passed me by. So over to you. Why do you love it? Tell us all as much as you can about it. Why does it float your boat?
Okay, so I think there's a degree to which you need to understand the level of obsession that went into my Buffy fandom. Such that my dog is called Buffy, and I met my wife on a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fanfic website. So
cool.
That's just to gauge things. Oh, and I also gave academic papers about Buffy at academic conferences.
Oh my god! You wrote them?
Interesting.
I wrote them. Yeah.
And present. How does that even work? What's that about?
So there's there's a whole discipline or multidisciplinary areas around TV studies, I guess.
Yeah.
So I wrote one that was called Absent Fathers and Multiplying Christs, and it was religious imagery in Buffy, because there's a lot of it with crucifixes fighting vampires. And then I did one about comedy in Buffy, and I can't remember the title. But yeah, it was just a bunch of nerdy. I mean, I'm not actually an academic. It was just a bunch of academics and then some nerds getting together to talk about Buffy.
Fab. That's a good combo.
Yeah. So I didn't actually get into it until it was nearly off the air. So it was 2000 something, because it started in 1997, but I was at university then. So again, passed me by at the time. I remember really liking the film, but really liking it in a that's fun by, not think about it anymore.
Was there a film first then, before the series?
It was film first, yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
At some point in the 90s, can't remember when.
Yeah, I think it was 92, the film, wasn't it? So it was quite
quite early on. Yeah.
And is that Sarah Michelle Gellar as well?
No, it was Kirsten Swanson or something, I think.
Okay.
I'm going to murder that name.
No.
Did Joss Whedon write the film though? Did he have anything to do with the film?
I actually don't know.
Okay.
I'm kind of not that. I'm not a behind the scenes kind of person. I'm very interested in what's on the screen. I mean, I'm interested in the behind the scenes from when the writers talk about stuff, but actually I don't really care who produced what or did what. Which has made the whole fact that Joss Whedon has turned out to be a terrible person a lot easier to take, because I've never been that invested in him as a person, whereas I think a lot of people base their fandom around him as a person.
Yeah, that's the way to disappointment, though, isn't it? When you realise that,
never have idols. They will get,
not of creators. Just admire their creations and let them stand alone on their own. Yeah, same.
Admire the monster, not Frankenstein.
Good advice for life.
Yeah. So I got into Buffy.
Yeah. How old were you? No, I'm just passionate about.
I was 24.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was like 24. And basically I was doing an advertising postgraduate diploma, not like a proper degree, but it was sort of a professional development thing. And it was insane because it was a bit like being on Big Brother, but like nastier. And it was me, I think maybe three other women and 21 guys. And a bunch of us were living together in a house. And it was this really intense, like competitive environment, and very macho, except for a couple of people who, like me, were not macho, either because we were not men, but or just didn't fit in with that. And so one of them, a guy called Raj, lent me Buffy. And it was like exactly what I needed in that moment, which was like, I suppose, a kind of warm wave of like comedy energy, to sort of cut through this very harsh environment, harsh and humorless environment. Like it was a lot of joke making, but it was all deadly serious. Like everyone was so ambitious, just like, and
so
or
and
like
no one kind of
everyone's
taking the mickey out of themselves, kind of thing.
No, just out of each other, and like
Yeah.
in a kind of like malicious way.
So it was the right program at the right time.
Exactly,
a bit like,
and it was like it's like
Schitt's
a
Creek.
Buffy.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's like you know, it's all about found family. It's all about like finding your place among the weirdos, and obviously like, you know, finding power in the unexpected places. But I mean, I think for me, like everyone gets something different about Buffy, I suppose, out of Buffy. But for me, it was the jokes. Because I'm always very attracted to comedy. Like that's I grew up on a lot of comedy. And I, you know, I enjoyed the drama, but I was like, yeah, whatever. If she's in love with someone, get me the jokes. And I know some people watch it just for the like big overarching romance stuff. And it's very subversive in terms of how it uses tropes, language. So there's an episode where she meets Dracula, like as in the Dracula, and it's just making fun of Dracula and Dracula movies. And it was just kind of like, I don't know. It's just, I mean, because again, I grew up on a lot of sort of, I guess, horror comedy as well. Watching like old black and white things with my dad. There was a couple of comedians called Abbott and Costello, and they did a lot of like spoofy horror stuff, which was kind of around the same time as like possibly even before Hammer stuff. And they did Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, and I think that was actually very much like Buffy in its own way. I mean, I'm sure there's, you know, many differences because it was from a very long time ago, but yeah, and I think Buffy kind of really tapped into that for me, where it was like a deep understanding of genre and then turning that genre on its head. And not just one genre, a lot.
Even the so I think I've seen about 5 episodes, and it was kind of during the second lockdown, I think, because I thought my kids might enjoy it. And we did kind of enjoy it, but we didn't get obsessive about it to like carry on. But the first episode, that whole thing of subverting genre with the girl being the was brilliant. Do you know what I mean? Especially when you then think about when it was made, and kind of, because now we can watch something like that and think, oh, I can see that coming, kind of thing. But, you know, if you think 97, that was and it's just very wisecracking, isn't she? She's kind of like, I can imagine her being an absolute massive icon for thousands of obviously.
And just like as a writer, I find it deeply inspiring because it's so kind of quick and tight, but manages to be quite profound among that, but just it never misses a beat, you know. And I think I so often watch TV shows or read books where I'm like, a much funnier line would have been this. I can never think of a funny line. They've never missed a line, you know. And it's kind of like, it's almost like there's a kind of bit where you're like, you missed, like you kind of blocked out a space for a joke and didn't put it in. And sometimes that really is true because people were in a rush, you know.
Does it hold? Do you think it holds up for you the whole series? Because I haven't. No. I still don't know spoilers. Do you know what I mean? Like, if there are spoilers, like if someone major dies, I don't know that, because I do think in my little world, I'm still like, one day I'll read all the books.
I won't tell you any spoilers. I think basically,
and I will watch it, but I have heard that, you know, after season whatever, it got really rubbish, and after whatever.
No, that's lies. So season 5 and 6. Well, season 5 is probably one of my favorites.
Okay.
I didn't used to like the early seasons at all, but kind of they grew on me. Season 4 is the one that everyone hates on, but actually had some of the best episodes.
Why does
season 7
why does everyone hate on it?
Well, they didn't. I think they didn't like the fact that she'd left high school to go to university, and also the kind of the season big bad is a little bit iffy. So I think it's that kind of end. What makes a Buffy season for me brilliant is often the end game. It's like it's been leading up to this point at all the way, and you could, in a way, see it coming. And I think season 5, again with no spoilers, it does that. It starts from a place that makes the end inevitable.
And do they have that overarching thing of each season?
Yeah,
you know what I mean, over that however many 22 episodes, whatever, they have that thing they're moving towards.
There's always an arc, and it's always like each character's arc is sort of filled up at the start, and then buds, but buds, no, not buds, flowers, blossoms, metaphors. So this is, for me, the only season that doesn't work like that at all is season 7, because the premise is stupid. So basically, without this doesn't spoil too much, but basically,
please don't, because I do believe I'm going to watch it.
They bring back a villain who, in an earlier season, had been played for comedy and tried to make them serious, and it just didn't work. It was like, we've already defeated you by laughing in your face. I can't.
But is season 7 the final season as well?
Yeah. So,
that's a shame, isn't it? If it ended on a bit of a damp squib.
Yeah. They also had just too many characters, and it's like, I've experienced this as a writer, like having, once you've got a certain number of characters to move around, it just becomes crowded, and you can't give everyone their space, and like you forget, I mean, not necessarily forget, but like people get neglected by necessity, and just think like you've got to limit it a bit, unless it's an epic thing like one of the things we're going to talk about later. You do need to like you need to keep some kind of a lid on it.
And do you have favorite characters? Like, obviously I've first watched like 5 episodes, so I've met a core group of characters, but have you got do you know what I mean, like, have you got
I mean, no, not really. I think I have a different favorite every time I watch it, or in a different
you've watched it all the way through more than once?
Oh yeah.
So what levels of obsession are we talking? Come on, when
the show ended, I got together with a bunch of other people and we wrote a new season together.
Oh my god, brilliant!
Say a new season. We only got 11 episodes in, and then we all got busy. But like, still, we wrote 11 episodes of television in script format.
That's amazing!
And so it was like pretty.
How you wished it would have gone, or just carrying on from where it finished?
Carrying on from assuming, like, taking 7 as it was, and just taking the aftermath as we thought would be fun, and kind of basically the villain of the season was we sort of mentally cast the guy from Talking Heads. What's he called? David Byrne. So as basically a chaos god. Basically, because a lot of Buffy reflects the period of life people are in. So by season 8, she'd be very much in her mid-20s. And I think mid-20s are a time of pure chaos. And I think a lot of what Buffy does is that kind of mirroring of your real life experiences with the monsters. And basically it's like, when you go to the big city and everything falls off, goes off the rails. So that was our season. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I really miss writing fanfic. I just don't have the time anymore, but I still have the desire,
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, no, that sounds super fun.
It was epic.
Campaign starts here.
Yeah. Just stop filming it like a British version. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Weird little, that could totally
just worse teeth and worse everything.
Yeah, I don't know though. In that first few episodes, she's pretty heavy on the eyeshadow, isn't she? Do you know what I mean? I'm a bit like 90s. I didn't remember the 90s having that much pastel, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really did.
My 90s were not her 90s. I don't know if California was different, and there was just like a lot of platform shoes and stuff.
God, yeah.
It is such a great choice, because I wasn't really into it either. I was like you, I watched the film And me and my sisters were really into the film. I remember we spent one whole summer chucking stuff at each other and saying only the chosen one could have caught that. So that's kind of my and then we just never really got into the series at all. So I watched the first one as well, and then my friend said I had to watch the musical episode, so I just watched the first episode of the musical episode, and I was like, this is brilliant.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm impressed you can make any sense of it, because by then it's really deep into like mythology and arcs and characters and.
I started watching about 5 minutes of the musical one, Anna, after you'd mentioned it, and then my son was just like, "What are you doing? A, you're going to ruin it for everyone, and B, you're not going to know what's going on, Mom." So I was like, "All right, mate, I'll turn it off." So I turned it off, but I was like, "Okay, I want." Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't know what's happening or who was who.
A lot has changed between, because it's series 6, isn't it, the musical?
Like
I didn't know what was going on. I was just enjoying the songs, really.
And do they sing all the way? Do they sing all the way through?
No, there's like talking in between.
Okay.
So it's a musical, not an opera. You know what I mean? It's kind of got
Well,
is that a musical? I don't know the definition.
Yeah, musical's got a bit
of light opera. I don't know, when they talk in between.
But we should kind of, that is a brilliant choice, but we should, because we've got a lot to talk about.
Okay, so let's move on to, I can't decide if I want to hear you two get majorly carried away with the next choice. Let's do that, because that'll be fun.
Should we just go nuts?
Yeah, let's just go nuts. I'm just going to have to, I'm going to be like, all right. Okay, so your next choice is the very famous Lord of the Rings. I have not read it, the book. I have seen the film, and you're going to have to just, over to you two fans, and you're going to need to explain, you're going to need to treat me like a proper beginner, because I need to know, like, if The Hobbit is related to Lord of the Rings. I have seen Peter Jackson's films, which were beautiful, but that was many years ago. And that whole, literally, what's an orc and a whatever, and I know nothing. So I'm just going to look at you two with passion in my eyes for your enthusiasm and take it away, geeks. Take it away, you weird little elf. Rings and Sauron and some long-haired elf and who is fit. And Liv Tyler, who is amazingly gorgeous. But what's happening?
So you know how I was like kind of quite deep into Buffy?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My interest in Buffy is like a casual, like whatever I watch it when it's on, compared to my lifelong interest in Lord of the Rings. Actually, not lifelong, because I'm it's not quite the same anymore. But basically, as a child, I kind of consumed the Lord of the Rings in as many ways as I could. So I first saw the 1978 Ralph Bakshi cartoon when I was quite small. I don't know. It was like, it wasn't when the film came out, but it was like whenever I must have been about 4 or something.
Okay.
And I think I must have been quite small, because apparently I hid under the chair when the Black Riders came on. So the Black Riders are the bad guys, just to break it down very simply.
Please, seriously, I know nothing.
And then I had like measles or something, one of those like nasty childhood whatevers, and I was ill, and my dad told me the entire story of Lord of the Rings I was probably like fading in and out of consciousness, so it kind of went into the back of my mind as a like fairly fundamental building block of my brain. And then I read it, and then they had this amazing BBC production of it on the radio, which was like a complete full dramatization, which I maintain is the best version out of any of the versions, including the book. So I didn't see the film until much later, and to be honest, like, I think by the time the film came out, my kind of fandom was waning a bit. I think it was sort of peaking when I was about 12, which is when I learned Elvish. So so the thing I love about Lord of the Rings it was an afterthought to the languages he wanted to make up. Like he basically made up the mythology to go with the languages, because he was a linguistics professor, and he is very into kind of old English, old Welsh, old whatever. And so he made up Elvish and a load of other languages too, I think. But then needed a story to go with it. So he kind of wrote the Lord of the Rings over a very long period of time. And yes, The Hobbit is related. So the events of The Hobbit happen. Actually, I'll do the timeline.
Yeah. So, do it. I love a timeline.
This is I can't do it so it stays on the screen. Okay, so if that's the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's the end.
Yeah.
This is the Silmarillion, which is like the backstory, which I believe is the new TV show is going to be possibly based on that. Not sure. Then the Hobbit is like here.
Okay.
And Lord of the Rings is here, and it's very long, so it goes there.
Gotcha.
But I think I must have read The Hobbit as well, but I was never as into it because it was nice, it was fun, but it wasn't epic, and it didn't have this like entire universe of characters and worlds. And
was The Hobbit first? Did he write The Hobbit first?
I don't know if he wrote it first, but he published it first. I want to say yes. Okay. I'm not like a stato nerd, so I can't like.
Yeah, you're not behind.
In 1945, it's the first manuscript.
It's first word.
I'm more into like. So actually, Tolkien was quite religious, and he had this concept of writing as subcreation, which always quite appealed to me. In the idea that, like, for him, God makes the universe, and writers subcreate within that universe. So it's almost like you're building a world within a world. And I think, like, for me, writing's always been about more sort of discovering what's there rather than making something up. And I like that idea with him, that he's almost like, I don't know, like sculpting out of the clay that's already, that's already out there in the world. And he was just sort of making something like the universe, the story verse is already there. You just got to find your little corner of it and shape it the way you want. So I think Lord of the Rings is so kind of, part of the appeal of it is there's just so many directions you could take it in, because there's like, you've got a vast cast of characters. You've got kind of like, I guess 9 main characters at least, and actually more than that over time, because it's like this group of people that are, so they've got this evil ring that needs to be destroyed, and 9 people of various, I don't know, not species. I don't know. Species is the wrong word, but like elves, dwarves, men, hobbits. Yeah.
And do they all want to destroy it? Do they all want?
They all. Oh well. All of them except one. So Boromir is like the dude bro of the group. He would definitely like buy NFTs. And he's like, why don't we use the ring? That'd be awesome. And actually, like, he tries to take it, and he's just like.
He's not a hobbit, though, is he?
He's not a hobbit. He's a man.
No. He's right,
So you've got 2 men, I think. You've got him and Aragorn. So Aragorn's the hot one, and Boromir's the idiot. Then you've got an elf, Legolas, who's the one with the lovely hair.
Oh yes, yes. And Liv Tyler, she's an elf.
She's also an elf, but she's not one
gorgeous.
of the 9.
Oh, okay.
So she goes out with Aragorn. Yeah. But like, she's hardly in the Lord of the Rings at all. Her part was really beefed up to the film because Tolkien didn't seem to know many women, nor did he know how to write them. He could only write women being like lovely, lovely, or Eowyn kind of like, I'm not like the other girls, like she's very much
Pixie Manic Dream Girl type.
Yeah, Pixie Manic Warrior Maiden. Okay. She kind of mopes around after Aragorn. I mean, I think as a kid, I thought she was super cool. And then I sort of realized that she does a lot of moping and it annoyed me. Like, she's basically really cool until Aragorn comes on the scene and then she's annoying.
Okay.
I could understand. I could understand her perspective.
Really?
I really fancied Aragorn, but I fancied him.
I never did.
I fancied him so much more when he was Strider. Because when they first meet him, he's this kind of dirty bloke sitting in the corner of the pub.
Kurt Russell. He's Kurt Russell.
No, he's not Kurt.
When he's scruffy, no.
And I was just completely in love with like the prancing pony Strider.
Right.
And then the kind of the cleaner he got, the less he sort of regally got, the less I fancied him.
Yeah. I mean, kings are a bit like, well, we've got kings and queens, and that's not appealing. I think like Strider is more fun, I think, as well.
Yeah.
And, so I'm confused already, though. So Strider, what is that?
Strider is the same person as Aragorn.
Right.
He's just
he's like, an elf. Aragorn the elf. Oh.
Aragorn is probably related to the elves in some way because he's really old and lives a long time, and he's from Numenor, which was an island that was like what's the island that sunk? Atlantis, kind of like Atlantis.
yeah.
It's like it's this lost kingdom, and they all used to be amazing, and now they're falling on hard times. So that's why he's kind of skulking around in the, I don't know, like he just sort of walks around a lot.
Okay, so just to sum up then, for the readers the watchers who may not be familiar with it, right? So we've got
Let's confuse everyone more.
No.
Okay,
I just need a brief umbrella in my brain. So we've got two geezers,
two men.
Okay, two
elves.
elves. An elf.
Only one elf.
Okay.
So we've got two men.
Okay.
Are you drawing a diagram?
Oh my God, yeah, do your drawing skills. Louie can draw like for reals.
Okay, yeah, but I'm not drawing good right now.
Oh, no, I don't. I did this.
Two
live.
times.
This is gold.
If I do words, is it going to show up backwards? Let me just sample. Okay, so is that backwards or forwards?
Oh, mub.
Okay, basically, okay, so I should write back. What I'm saying, was that rightward? Backwards. Anyway, I think I need to write backwards.
Gotcha.
So that's 2 times men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's backwards, but yeah.
Oh, whatever. Okay, I'm gonna try doing it forwards now.
I can't tell back to front or left to right in this thing. So
yeah. Well, anyway, we're going to use our words as well. So okay,
always
so
helpful.
1 times dwarf.
Oh yeah. Oh.
So he's called
that?
Gimli.
Who's that in the film?
Jonathan something.
Yeah.
Okay. Little dwarf.
He's very.
Why is he on his own? Why is the poor little fella on his own?
Well, he's not, because he's besties and possibly lovers in the nighttime with the elf, who's called Legolas.
Legolas was the blonde chap that everyone fancied, right?
Yeah.
I never did. Blondes don't do it for me, but
okay, so 1 times elf.
Okay.
Legolas.
Elf and dwarf, so they did have
So they were like they definitely had a lot of tension, unresolved tension. Because it was like a Romeo and Juliet situation where like dwarves and elves hate each other because of reasons I can't remember why. And they formed a friendship and maybe more, even across that divide. So
love an allegory, love all that.
It's a really beautiful friendship, actually, and I think the friendship between Legolas and Gimli is one of the. I really like Peter Jackson's films, not because I know they're not completely faithful, but I thought they really.
Oh, I thought you meant his films in general. I was like, didn't he? He did a really good horror. I'm trying
to
with exploding heads. Anyway,
bad taste. Is that what?
Bad taste. Yeah.
He also did a really terrifying flipping serial killer, flipping 2 girls murder real life story, which is like
Heavenly Creatures.
Oh my God, yeah.
Amazing with Kate Winslet and
and that's it's a real story, that, and one of those women is now like a really famous writer, published. It's bonkers. Yeah, it's terrifying. Yeah, seriously, look it up. It's horrendously horrible.
Okay.
Anyway, back to
I've just got to draw the next one. So
so go on. Sorry, go on.
There's 4 of the next lot, so it's just taking me a moment to draw them.
No, that's right. Two men. I've got 2 men so far. I got a dwarf and an elf who are in love, friendship. Really nicely portrayed. Is that right?
Okay.
I know there's some hobbits in there.
So there's 4 hobbits. Yeah. And some of them are related. So there's Merry and Pippin and Frodo, and I feel like Frodo's one of their cousins, but I'm not sure. Frodo's posh, and then there's Sam, who's his like
Sam Ganges. He's the geezer from Goonies. He's the Goonies guy.
Yes, and he says potatoes, and everyone quotes it on the internet. Oh
my God, I miss so much. I don't know what I've been doing with my
potatoes.
That makes sense now, that meme. I've seen.
So him and Frodo are kind of also in love, but in a way that's like completely like inappropriate in the workplace.
They're not in love.
Well, they are. However, Sam works for Frodo, so it should be like a harassment suit. And like, so it's kind of beautiful, but also a bit wrong. And apparently this was based on the experience of being in the trenches in the First World War, and how like the officers and the lowly peasant men were kind of very close in this way that was not at all gay, apparently. So
if that was a relationship, it would be such an unhealthy, toxic.
I know, it's completely toxic.
Who's the more?
So Frodo's the posh one, and he's the whatever second cousin twice, however many removed, adopted son of Bilbo, who's the Hobbit.
Okay,
So
and is he the one hassling Sam?
He's not really hassling. It's just more like they do a lot of staring at each other.
And Sam is completely subservient to Frodo. I find that the most
power thing.
The most recent time I reread it actually made me a little bit uncomfortable. I don't really
it's
like their friendship anymore. It doesn't feel like a friendship to me anymore. I think
it's a working relationship that's kind of like equally appropriate.
So if you guys have reread it quite a lot, well, first of all, my brain actually can't move on because I've only got 8. I haven't got the full 9. So let's just finish the full 9.
So let's just recap. So we've got 2 men's, 1 dwarf, 1 elf, 4 hobbits, and we are missing 1 wizard. Now wizards
that's Gandalf, right?
Yes.
So
wizards are not human in this world. They're more like angels. Okay. So they're a kind of group of people called, I want to say the Maya, something like that anyway. So just got to complete my picture now. So Gandalf is like the leader of the pack, vroom vroom. He's the one that brings everyone together and he guides them until, spoilers, he dies. But it's okay because he gets better.
He gets better from death, as you do.
Yes. He's called Gandalf the Grey, and then he comes back and he's Gandalf the White, and he's all shiny. So there's 9 of them, and they all kind of are traveling together to take the ring to Mordor, as they say. And they said it in the new trailer for Lord of the Rings. It was like Mordor. Can't do it.
I want you to write, like, just even if it's just for me, Louie, like as a favor, like Emma's Idiot Guide to Lord of the Rings, because I feel like I could actually watch the films now and I would know what is going on.
Yeah.
I feel like I could actually have a bit of a little, like,
I could do it as a little stick figure comic.
Yeah, man, that'd be amazing. Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
Awesome. But I hope my editor's not listening because I have a lot of drawing to do for her.
You could do it. So can I ask then, because it is coming out as a TV, is Amazon doing it or who's doing it? It's coming out soon, isn't it?
I think it's Amazon, yeah.
And how do you both feel as fans? Do you know much about it, or are you looking forward to it, or, you know?
Anna, how are you feeling?
I don't know. I think it sounds like I've been on a similar journey with it to you, where I had a phase where I was obsessed with it. Weirdly, also read it for the first time when I was really poorly. So I wonder if that's the secret to it, you know, kind of becoming this really sort of fundamental part of your psyche where you can't really tell the difference between reality and this story, and it just kind of all blends in this kind of weird, amazing way. I mean, I was reading it, but I was in bed, you know, heavily medicated for quite a long time. So, but yeah, no, I don't feel like now. And when when the films came out, I was like, right, I'm going to go and see them. I'm really excited about them. Yeah. But I kind of, the last time I read it, I didn't. I will always love it. It will always have a very special place in my heart. But kind of, it's not something that I'm gonna, you know, kill myself to go out and see every single version of it now.
Yeah. So there's one thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. Well, no, I was just going to say, if you have like reread it, it must be really interesting. You know, when you've got a different perspective as you know, the different ages you are, especially that friendship between Frodo and Sam. Obviously, you know, if you're reading it at 12 or whatever, and then in your 20s, and then
well, like now I've been someone's boss, I can see how wrong it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, I think I didn't read it with quite the same like political lens when I was a kid either, where it's like, this is the class system at its worst, at its most toxic and harmful, and you know, kind of, wow, there's everything about this world is quite bad actually. Like, I think Lord of the Rings feels much more dystopian to me now than it did then, because I'm like, wow, this is, you know, there's quite a lot of feudal system going on, and there's a lot of like you know, hobbits would all definitely be Tories, you know, and or possibly UKIP. I mean, they're pretty bad.
My God.
They're very parochial.
Oh,
and they don't like foreigners.
Sad. That's so sad.
And like, and the elves would be more like, we're not getting involved. We're just going to burn.
They wouldn't vote. They'd abstain. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, or the Lib Dems.
On the fence. On the fence.
We did do programs as
so,
drinks before, and now we can do like books as political parties.
Yeah. I could explain the plot of Lord of the Rings through political parties. How about that? There you go.
Yeah.
Just for you, Emma.
We were going to try and keep to time today. We're already,
okay.
Right. No.
Can I say one more Lord of the Rings thing before we start?
Yes,
which
please.
is that okay, so the new series is going to be about the prequels. Basically, it's going to be about like the past. I don't care. I know what's happened in the past. What I want is the future that hasn't existed in the Lord of the Rings universe yet, and we're not seeing that. What I want is, so there's a bit where Galadriel's like, I shall diminish and go into the west and remain Galadriel. And I want to know what that means. And I think it means she'll have a wild party lifestyle. And she's just going to be like, I don't care anymore. I'm not involved in Middle Earth politics. And I just think it's like this whole like decadent kingdom of elves.
Okay.
Who doesn't want to
She's
see
the
that?
queen. She's the queen, right?
Yes.
Is that Tilda Swinton?
No, Kate Blanchett.
Interestingly, but they are kind of interchangeable. Kate Blanchett.
Yeah,
there's a bit
You
where
want the
she goes
kind
all
of
evil in the film.
elvish sex, drugs, rock and roll sequel.
Yes, that's the thing that the Tolkien estate would never sign off on.
Change a few names.
Yeah. Okay, so we can move on now.
Okay, so thank you, because that has actually enlightened me, like, properly.
Excellent.
All right, so this program is supposed to be half an hour, and we are over time. But I reckon we've got to do 3 choices, because otherwise it just won't be easy.
Yeah. I can just be really quick about Judge Dredd.
Well, I've not read Judge Dredd, and I don't think Anna has. So tell us about Judge Dredd. I do know that it was a Stallone movie. Am I right? Seen that. So tell us a bit, comics and Judge Dredd and your love of Judge Dredd.
So 2000 AD was the comic that I read, and it was basically the whole comic that I loved. It wasn't just Judge Dredd, but he was kind of like one of the main characters. Okay. There was also Slain, who was like an ancient berserker warrior who was awesome. And basically, he's the reason where whenever I get people saying, oh, you can't put that in a children's book, I was like, I read about the Blood Eagle when I was 6, and I'm fine. The Blood Eagles where they rip your ribs apart as a kind of punishment. Okay, nice. I was like, everything's so mimsy now, you know. Back in the day. But anyway, so Judge Dredd is in a futuristic fascist America for the present. Where basically it's kind of it's like, you know how all cops are bad, it's like taking that to the extreme, where all cops will shoot everyone on sight. And basically their justice system is instant justice, so you don't get a trial or anything, they just shoot you. They sometimes lock you up, but mostly they just shoot you. And it's kind of this, it was written like when I was reading it, it's still going, but when I was reading it was in the 80s, and it was kind of against the backdrop of Reagan and Thatcher here, and it was kind of there's you know, there's some stuff set in England as well, but basically it's all kind of very, very dark and depressing, and I think very much shaped my view of the world. Maybe very, very, I guess, very skeptical of power structures, because obviously like it's about the abuse of power, but he's also, I mean, the thing is, he is like an anti-hero, because you do kind of root for him as well, so it's quite complicated. Because it's not his fault, he's a clone, he was built to be this kind of mega policeman, but obviously he does uphold the system. Well, he doesn't always though, so there's times when he kind of
is that why you root for him, because every now and then he does his own thing or makes his own choices? Or I
think it's sadly not that. I think it's because as an 8-year-old, I like seeing people be shot in the face. You know what I mean? It's like bang bang, cool. And this is why 8-year-olds should not make too many choices. But like, you know, it was funny violence. It was played for comedy. But there was also a character called Judge Anderson who's psychic, and she was like really cool because she was like the wisecracky one. Like Judge Dredd is very serious. He never takes his helmet off, and you can only recognize him by his massive chin. And like all the artists have so much fun drawing his chin. Like it's just this square. But Judge Anderson actually is she's like psychic, so she's more sensitive. And her, you know, that's where her power comes from, but also she kind of understands why everything that she's doing is kind of wrong as well. I think it was.
Sorry, go on.
So I'm just realizing we're stuck. No, you go.
I'm just getting carried away because just the way you're describing it just reminded me of Invincible. Have you watched Invincible yet? Is it Invincible?
I haven't watched it, but I've read the comic.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Yes, it is. I think it's from that same kind of strain of comics. Like, because I never read like Marvel growing up. I always read DC Vertigo and 2000 AD, which was all very gritty and dark and horrible, and like other DC Vertigo character, John Constantine, who's like this dirty Scouser magician who, you know, ruins everyone's life that he comes into contact with. And then you read Marvel, and it's all. I mean, it's not that Marvel's always happy, but it's like quite upbeat, you know. But that's not what I was raised on.
You were drawn to the dark side.
Well, I was, but the dark comedy, so it always had to be funny. Like Judge Dredd is always funny, even though it's super bleak. There's always jokes, and there's lots of in jokes. Like there's always had things like Margaret Thatcher block and stuff. Like there's all these kind of like, because all the block, they all live in these massive horrific tower blocks, and they're all, you know, they've all got kind of like contemporary names, contemporary for the 80s, but you know. But yeah,
can I ask, just because I know we've got to finish, but I'm really interested because I barely read any like comics or graphic novels, and Nadine chose a graphic novel and you haven't. So
what did she choose?
She chose The Killing Joke. So she chose the Joker's origin story. Kind of in terms of the experience as a reader. So, because I think I just feel a bit like I don't really know what to do when I'm looking at a graphic novel. I know that sounds really stupid, but
like where to go, like reading it, where to go, because it's so busy.
Yeah. So for you, what are the differences between kind of just reading a book or reading a graphic novel? Is it just as an experience as a reader? How do they differ?
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up reading comics, so it's kind of hard to say in a way. Like, you know, like it's much easier to like articulate something that you're new to in a way.
Yeah.
But I think it's obviously like, you know, I would say visual literacy is quite different, and you know, has many dimensions, and obviously being able to understand art is visual literacy in a different way, but this is sequential art, so it's the idea of like one picture after another that makes up the story, which is something that's been used throughout human history, and there's lots of medieval art that's sequential to a degree. It's not obviously in quite such a structured way, but it'll definitely have like, I don't know, like the Stations of the Cross. That's a comic. You know what I mean? It's like you have to walk around the church to read it, but like it's panels. You have to read in order. And I think it's about, you know, your eyes learn where to go. And I mean, sometimes even I find there's some comics that are just too clever for me, and like some kind of like visually very complex, and you know, the more art house comics, I'm just like, you know what, my eyes do not know what to do right now.
No, but I think it would be really, I'd be really interested to have like, you know, I don't know, I might ask on Twitter when I go on at the weekend to like, you know, people's like 10 top, you know, graphic novels as an adult, because I didn't grow up reading comics. I've never read comics.
Yeah.
My husband is a massive fan and tried to get me to read like Preacher, and we're talking like 20 years ago.
Also,
really
do you
hard,
like people being shot in the face? Because that's very
yeah, I love people being shot in the face. Yeah, no, but so I didn't really read them when he had them, but I've bought him them over the years. But I've never read any as an adult. But the last 2 or 3 years, I'd say I've started reading, and it's not for me. I would love to start reading for me, because I'll try anything once, literally.
Yeah.
But my daughter isn't a big reader, and that's, you know, as a reader and a writer, and my son's a really massive reader, it's always been a bit like, oh my god, I just need to get her the right book. And I've just tried. How old is she? So she's 12 now, and I've tried so hard. Yeah, I think that'll be my next buy, but that's why I've started reading them. So in the last 3 years, we've done like Smile and Awkward and Brave and Ghost Sheets and some beautiful, amazing, and I'm reading them with her, being absolutely blown away by the variety, because she didn't want to do, you know, she did Wimpy Kid, she loved your Loki, she loved it, Louie, thank you. She hated Dog Diary. She was like, I don't want a Wimpy Kid girl version, that's pathetic. She hated that. So I do want to stretch her, and she's really interested in LGBT and all sorts of things, and I kind of don't know where to go, so I have got a lot of recommendations.
On Twitter you will not be able to get through your mentions fast enough. Like,
oh no, good. But it's literally a whole new world, and I'm feeling like I don't. It's just And
I would recommend, like, if you can be bothered, there's a book by Scott McCloud called Understanding Comics, and it has a lot about the technicalities of like what comics are, and also how to read them. And it has a bit of the history of comics as well. But I think basically it's sort of like, it is like reading in that it's, left to right.
Yeah.
But imagine each row of comic panels like a line of text, so you have to go back to the start again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not just reading down, you read across and then back.
Yeah, I would like to read more as well. I think
I think because you've got to remember it's not a genre, it's a medium. Obviously there's infinite variety within comics, so it's just about finding probably whatever you like to read in text only, you'd probably like to read that in comics too. I mean, not necessarily, but
I watched a TV series that I really love. I really love sci-fi, like really, really love sci-fi, and can't write it, wouldn't dare write it, and have a really terrible visual sense as well. But I watched a series called Tales from the Loop, which I loved and thought it was just beautiful, really slow storytelling. Someone was saying to me that's based on graphic novel, I think.
Right.
Or the artist.
Not one that I've read, but
No, but so I want to check that out. And ever since seeing Alien and seeing those drawings, which Alien I love, I've been fascinated. So I'll check that out because
check out Saga if you like sci-fi.
Okay, I love sci-fi. I just can't do it. I'm like, my mind's blown by anyone who can.
Yeah, and Saga's got the most beautiful art as well.
Has it?
Like, the art in Saga is absolutely stunning.
Okay, and I can't draw for. Yeah, my drawings are appalling. Okay, listen. So we have way gone over time, but we may as well make it around 50 minutes now. So Louie, we can't leave though without please you telling us a bit about you and anything you want to not plug, but anything you want to tell us about. It's your launch day. Thank you for being here on launch day. I'm surprised you're not like, I've been drinking champagne all day.
That's exactly what I said on Twitter today.
Well, I was actually going to
my friend,
but I have to say, because I've been going around London painting windows all day, I think if I drank some champagne, I'd be under the table.
Has it been a good launch day? Has it been?
It's been lovely. So I got to paint some bums on a window.
Nice.
And other things. Big picture of Loki. It's just really nice to go around shops. And obviously, over the pandemic, being a writer, it's not like I've been going to see my books in shops very much. So it's really nice to actually do that. So I mean, I don't know how long I've been working on Loki for. It sort of feels like forever, but also feels like I've just started.
Hold up your beautiful book again, please.
Available in all good bookshops.
Yeah. And is there one book is it a series?
It's a series. There's definitely 3. I'd love to do more, but we shall see. So the next one's coming out in August, so it's pretty hot on the heels.
Exciting.
So I've got to finish it over the next couple of months. I've done the words. I'm just going to do pictures now.
Okay.
So for anyone who hasn't been,
and it's your first project writing and illustrating, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how's that been though? Just give us a little bit of
really exciting, terrifying, hard, interesting. I think it's possibly been a while since I feel like I've learned so much, because it's that feeling of and I guess I'd forgotten the process of learning always has a moment of despair.
Oh my god, totally.
Can't do this.
What was I thinking?
Oh no, I can. But I don't know how you get from the despair to the other thing. I never do. Every time something new comes along, it's there's always the despair moment that thinks you will never ever be able to do it, and then it just happens. But I don't know how. I can't cross it.
Nice to sort of have that.
I want to learn how that happens. Yeah.
I want to learn that thing of, have I learned from learning? Do you know what I mean? Because I always love to test myself and do things that actually make me feel a bit uncomfortable. But then I'm not convinced that I've actually harnessed those lessons and I'm taking them forward. You know what I mean? At each stage, I'm just each stage it feels like I'm going all over again.
I think it's the same level of chaos each time, and maybe that's okay, But it's been great. So when I initially wrote the book, I wasn't expecting that a publisher would ask me to do the pictures. So, but I had thought through the visuals in quite a lot of detail, and I'd written little kind of design briefs all the way through of and this would be a picture of this and a speech bubble of this. And so actually being able to do the pictures myself was great, because it means I could just think about the whole thing together. I don't know, just thinking about how all things sit on the page. And I mean, the designer makes them sit on the page properly, but just thinking about what the reading order is and that kind of thing, where it's okay,
and it must really
just
honor
picture
your
these
love
stuff
of comics and stuff as well, really.
Yeah,
really,
because it does have, I mean, just like basically comics are very, very time consuming, so I haven't done that many, but I've done, you know, a spattering throughout the book. So, you know, the odd full page, and then
wicked. It's so wicked.
And then quite a lot of like 2-panel stuff, and then a lot of just single panel. I mean, that's not got a panel, but you know what I mean, it's like a single frame, a single moment. So I guess cartoons and comics. So
it's very fun. You can see the joy in it when you read it. It's like, and Otherland had great gags in it as well, but there's a real is it anarchic? I can't say the word. What's that
I
word?
think so. Yeah,
that's it. I was going to say archaic.
But yeah, and I think it's like, it's sort of an opportunity to take the brakes off, really, which is fun.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Louie, and thank you for being here on your launch day. We really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, and sorry we went 20 minutes over.
No, I just done
that. That's okay.
We got carried away.
Yeah. Awesome.
So yeah, thank you to everyone who's watched the programs over the last 4 weeks. Thank you so much to all 4 of our guests for coming on and being our guinea pigs when we're just learning how to do this. We think that we are going to come back for a second series if you'll all have us and you'll come and watch us again. And we are expecting, we've got a date penciled in of, I think it's the 24th of March.
Yeah, 24th
to come back
of March
for the start of the second series.
That's the day before the ring goes into the fire in Mordor.
Is it? Oh my god! That's why we picked it.
And you said you didn't know dates and you weren't a true geek. You're such a liar. You're such
I know dates within the universe, just not without it.
I love that you said that. I'm exactly like that. I want to talk about that some more. But anyway, so yeah, thank you all for joining us, and we will hopefully see you again in March
24th.
Yeah. Okay, take care.
Love
Bye.
You. Bye.
Love you. Bye.